All right, everybody, I hope you're having a great night. This is Seth Cross here with Praetor Gaming, and I'm joined tonight on Late Night Magic Monday with Angelo Guerrera. Hey, Angelo, how are you?
Good. How are you, Seth?
Oh, I'm tired. It's Monday,
Yeah.
and it's been a long weekend. I didn't have work on Friday, and I didn't have work today, and I'm somehow more exhausted being with, my family than around a bunch of military people doing work, so... But
Yeah,
it
it
is what it is.
seems a little backwards, but it happens.
Yeah, well, it is. The kids are they're like 10 troops each, so that's like 30 troops. So that's the algorithm, I guess. But for tonight, Angelo, as for folks who don't know, Angelo is one of the writers over at EDHREC, along with being everywhere else in content lately. He's been on a game show. He's been on streams. He's just been everywhere. I even said this on Twitter. You're the content creator I wish I was.
No,
Yeah.
No. It all came out at once. You have a lot of consistency, where you do things every week, whereas it was like, oh yeah, end of September, I have 4 things coming out, and then nothing for the rest of my life.
I don't know. We'll see about that, because now we're in October, so
Yeah.
And as Angelo pointed out, we're both representing our EDHREC shirts. Yeah. It's so embarrassing. We somehow just showed up wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, really. One of us has to change.
I mean, unless you are also wearing Legend of Zelda pajama pants, I think we're kind of okay.
Well, now would be a bad time to tell you about my boxers.
Yeah, I got there.
Yeah.
I legitimately am wearing a Legend of Zelda pajama pants, just so everybody knows. Professional up top, and then everybody else in the world, in Zoom meetings and stuff, I'm barely wearing clothes. So, I mean, before we made the call, I wasn't even wearing pants. So,
that's fair.
It was going to be the real late night show.
Hey, whatever works. I'm not going to judge. It's COVID times. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly, right? As long as you're comfortable and you're making it through the day.
Mm-hmm.
So for tonight, we're going to do kind of the same thing we did last week with Benny. We're going to go over a series of topics. Angelo and I talked a little bit about them already, but we're going to go back and forth about them. They are kind of Magic-y related, most of them. One of them's kind of not, but I'm sure somehow we'll tie it in. Angelo, I know that the first topic that we'll go over, I think, is the most important one, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Is something of yours.
Yes, my great hair.
Yeah, well, all right, listen here. Joey's going to somehow be in the chat, and then he's going to yell at us and be like, he's feeling a disturbance in the force right now. Who's talking about hair and it's not mine? No.
That's okay. I don't mind losing to Joey with hair. It's fine. I'll take my lumps.
I was referring to your cube that you have, which I don't know how I've never somehow either been invited, which I can read the room, but or how you haven't included me in your cube, because your cube's like my favorite plane in all of Magic.
Yes, it is an Innistrad cube. It's the first cube that I ever did. It's my baby.
I didn't know it was the first cube. How many cubes have you done?
I have 2 right now. I've dabbled in 3.
Mm-hmm.
I helped a friend build a massive, and I mean a massive, Ravna cube. It has 1,000 cards. His whole thing with that was, I want to have variants, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna help as much as I can. But so this one is the first one that I've done, and it is my baby. It's my favorite cube. It's the one that I have had. I've done so much work on it. I've had it for almost 4 years now, I think.
Yeah, and I've noticed that as sets come out and stuff, a lot of the time, especially with core sets or commander sets, I've seen you kind of post on Twitter about, would these cards fit in, because they're not necessarily always tied to a plane or something like that, or sometimes they are just reminiscent of Innistrad in general, even though they're not coming out in Innistrad set. So you're kind of trying to gauge the strength of those cards and the synergy that they'll have with cards that are in your cube. Do you have Anya Falconwrath in the cube itself?
So I just took her out in the latest patch. So this is a tough topic for me, and I'm gonna go off onto a rant already, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Go for
All
it.
right.
You scream into the void here.
So, because I've been working on this cube for so long, there's a couple things that are just like that I innately know now. And one of those things is the bare minimum number of gold cards that a color combination has. And what I mean by that is because I want to have everything color balanced in the cube, is if I want gold cards, I have to go to the lowest common denominator. So Simic only has 2 gold cards from all 5 Innistrad sets. Yep. That's it, no more. And that's also including Lashweed Lurker, which is technically a colorless card. But it's a merge cost to Simic. So like that's that. But because of that, my hands are tied, and I can't include any more gold cards, even though Rakdos and Dimir have about 6 each.
Yeah.
I'm tied with Simic for right now. So Anya Falconwrath was in the cube, but the cube can handle Olivia Voldaren, so I swapped the two because Olivia was in a previous build.
Yeah.
And I like having the strong cards in the cube for right now, as opposed to trying to push the Madness synergy. And the other Rakdos card is Stromkirk Captain, and I'm obviously not getting rid of that one. But yeah, so I'm hoping for some gold cards, Simic cards specifically, which is really weird. I never thought I'd say that, but especially everything going on right now. But yeah, so Anya was in the cube, and a lot of the vampire stuff is Madness, so she worked out really well. But Olivia is just so like flashy that and if the part of the issue with original Innistrad was the removal couldn't really hit her that well, and so that's why she dominated the format. And don't get me wrong, she's an incredible limited card, but the cube can easily handle her. And like you said, because this is like an Innistrad cube, not necessarily from every Innistrad set.
Yeah.
I can pick up different pieces of removal that come out in core sets, or even like Modern Horizons. It had Mob, which is on Innistrad, and it also had Reprobation, which was also on Innistrad.
Okay. So you can kind of like, if it fits thematically,
yes,
it can work.
Yeah, but it has to be on Innistrad. If there's any question about it, I don't put it in.
Oh, okay.
So a good example, and this is like me really putting my Innistrad blinders on and like digging into things. And I think this is the one, like this is the thread that you were referencing earlier, but Gormand. Gormand came out in M21 or Core 21, and if you look at it, I'll wait for you to throw it up because I don't want to.
Can you spell it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What?
Can you spell it?
Yes, Goremand.
I missed the E. That's what it was. Gotcha. There it goes. If you're waiting on the stream, it's going to be delayed. But it's a 4 black demon, 5/5 flying trample. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature.
Yes. So there's nothing on the card that inherently says that it's from Innistrad. You know, like the most telltale sign to look for anything is Avacyn's collar. You know, the one that werewolves hate. You know, the symbol of her church. But when you look at Gormand, it's basically a baby Grizzlebrand demon. And we've never seen any other plane that has any demons similar to Grizzlebrand. It has the alabaster skin. It has the black horns curling up. It has the fire in the center of the head. It has a similar loincloth. Like, it looks like if Grizzlebrand had a baby.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, that's good enough to say, well, you know, there's a bunch of evidence pointing to this demon being from Innistrad, I'll put it in.
Yeah.
But I need to dive into it. I can't just look and be like, oh, well, that's a cool demon that works for the cube.
Yeah.
As much as I want to, with certain cards.
Okay. I can see that. I definitely see what you're talking about too, because like I have Grizzlebrand pulled up right now, and just looking at the horns, I think are like the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, that's something that I've learned to look for specifically with the devils. Anytime I see a devil, I need to look and say, wow, is this a good card? If so, then how are its horns? Because Innistrad Devil's horns go up.
Gotcha.
They don't, and they curve to the side and they go up. Whereas like the Rakdos ones curl down. But no other plane has devils whose horns just go straight up, at least in the vast majority of cases. And so like that's a telltale sign for me that this is a devil that I can put in the cube too. Like it's a lot of really nitty gritty nerdy stuff, but I love looking for that in core sets or like in Modern Horizons and stuff like that. It's super fun. Jumpstart, the devils from Jumpstart had 3 Innistrad devils on it. Zerzoth is one of them.
I was actually gonna ask you about that at some point. I was gonna be like, does Zerzoth technically count as an Innistrad style devil? Because not that there's like a huge amount of devil synergy in all of Magic, right? But he does have at least some kind of devil like tribalistic tendency. So, and devils are prominent in they're prominent in Innistrad more so than I think any other set, but they're not like they've never had like a lot of synergy in there. So, and then I've never paid attention to the art in such a way.
Yeah, it's so like they've been doing this thing recently, and like it's very apparent on like Zendikar goblins when you look at the goblins from OG Zendikar block and then BFZ, where they completely changed the design. When you look at Zerzoth, he has the horns going up and not curling, but now they're black and they're also coming forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And like similar with Chained Brute, like it has the black horns, but it's coming up. And so like they're changing the design on that a little bit too. But it is good to have more devil synergies in the cube because you're right. There really isn't a whole lot, but while there isn't a whole lot of devil synergies, there's a lot of surprisingly good devils, like from Innistrad that work with Zerzoth. I'm trying to think. There was also, speaking of good devils, from the Madness Precon, the one with Angie. God, I've been talking about her, but I can't remember how to pronounce her now. There's one of them, Wildfire Devils. They're from Innistrad. They come down and you get a random instant or sorcery from a player, or you pick a player at random and get an instant or sorcery.
Okay.
Yeah, like they're super cute, and these cards just come out innocuously in just so many sets, and it's really good. It's a good way to not be overwhelmed. Because like I have my Jeskai cube, and that card's very hard, or that it's been very hard. Because as soon as the new Zendikar set came out, I'm like, oh god, I need to look through every blue, white, and red card, and that's rough. But if there's a core set, I'm like, oh, there's only 3 potential cards from my Innistrad cube. That's awesome.
I can see that. It's also weird. I'm kind of noticing this that devils have like. Because when I think about devils in Magic, the first one that always comes to my mind, because it's probably more popular in Commander, is like Charmbreaker Devils, and it almost strikes me like they're the spell slingery. I guess like they don't have like a tribal, so I always call it a tribal identity, right? Like goblins have overwhelming numbers, elves have lots of mana, stuff like that.
Yep.
Devils, for the most part, I don't feel like they have a lot of identity as a tribe. But seeing this, because I completely forgot about this card, and then thinking again back to like Charmbreaker Devils, it's almost like they have a spell recursion-y identity to them. Granted, it's 2 cards out of however many devils there are in Magic, and I don't know, but that would be, I think, an interesting thing. But I don't know how they would like tie that in thematically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so like a lot of the devils, specifically on Innistrad, deal damage, whether when they die or if you tap them or when they enter the battlefield. Like they just like being painful pain in the butts.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because if I'm trying to think of the card, I think it's Anarchist, and I forgot what set it's from. It's a super old card where it's just like it's a 2/2 for 5. It ETBs and it gets you back in a sorcery or an instant or sorcery, something like it like it's an Archaeomancer.
Yeah. Target sorcery from your graveyard to your hand.
Yeah, and so like I think devils are a cute way of kind of revisiting that effect specifically for red. I think you're right, being able to do that.
Odyssey.
Wow. Yeah, that was a little while ago.
Yeah, old card. But yeah, so I guess. I mean, yeah.
Like I don't know. I think that's because they want to keep that effect in blue now.
Yeah.
So it would be a really cool way of kind of bringing it back, where if maybe they do have some instant or sorcery kind of synergies, and that way you can still keep it at random if you want, because devils that's just kind of how they are.
Chaos and stuff.
Yeah.
But excuse me, and I do like. I'm surprised we didn't see any more effects like this, maybe attached to devils or just red cards in general from like Sabine from that precon, because obviously that was all about. Oh no, I've invoked the deck that wasn't that great.
Yeah. I have some feelings about Sabine.
What feelings? I don't know what you mean. It was a great deck.
It was a fine deck. It was okay, but when your Spells Matters deck needs Zetalpa included in order to win, then I'm gonna have an issue with it.
Honestly, actually, real talk, because Zetalpa came up in one other deck. Was it the Gira deck? No,
Zetalpa was in.
It was in. It was in some other kind of like precon-ish thing.
It was in one of the mutate decks, I believe. It was in the bug, the Abzan one.
Yeah, Casserole. Yeah, I feel like they
the Ladybug.
Yeah, I feel like they just kind of assume that Casserole, the Talpa is like just a big, annoying to deal with closer if you have white in there. Especially if they feel like there's not enough combat synergies in it, which is weird for the Abzan one, because it was all about like spreading around keywords that were fairly combat, centric, and then making Casserole dangerous and hitting. But I think obviously this one, because it's just keyword soup, that's why it was included in Casserole. So
that way you can just get 5 counters.
Yeah, for the Jeskai one though, I mean, I won with it. I played it a few times just in general, and I won with it, but I don't. It was mostly like slower wins with kind of like controlling ish stuff.
Yeah.
Or a big spell. There was a couple of like X spells in there.
I have a Sabine deck, and it's fun, but like it's a token deck. I made it revolve around like all the young pyromancer effects, because having it revolve around just flashing things back is incredibly weak, and you're not really able to do much. So like, it kind of just falls on its face, and it's kind of disappointing.
That's kind of the strategy that I went with my oldest son Eric's Calamax deck. It has young pyromancer. It has God, what's the blue one that gives you the birds? Mystic something.
A Murmuring Mystic.
Murmuring Mystic, yeah, that's it. It's got Talrond in there and stuff like that. It's basically just got maybe a dozen creatures in it, and they all find ways to either give you creatures or like benefit off of playing a spell kind of thing. And then you just play spells or kill people with Calamax.
Yeah, Calamax is very good at tilting. It's a very good card.
I mean, my kid just liked it because it was a big dinosaur with lightning coming out of its tail. So the simple pleasures in life.
It's all about the little things.
Yeah. So, what is it specifically about Innistrad that like inspired? You said this was your first cube. So, what
Yes.
specifically inspired you to be like, okay, I want a cube of just Innistrad? Is it your favorite plane in Magic? Is certain characters? Is it the tribes or the strategies that have been shown? Because I'm assuming you made this back in like original Innistrad or started it.
I made this slightly after Shadows.
Oh, okay.
Because I started playing right after original Innistrad.
Gotcha.
So my first real experience with Magic, I started playing the release weekend of M13.
Okay.
Was, here's all the Innistrad sets because those just came out, and here's M13. And so Innistrad was like super formative to me learning how to play and doing everything.
Yep.
So was Return to Ravnica because they came out right in between.
Yeah.
But just coming in and being like, oh wow, yeah, those are zombies and those are vampires, and like that stuff that easily resonated with me as someone who knew nothing about the game. And they did just such a good job at like at the theming and hitting it home. And then my favorite tribe is Eldrazi. And so when Shadows over Innistrad showed up and everyone was like, oh my god, it's Emrakul, really? I'm like, it's Emrakul, really? Like, I was so excited that no thumbs down. I was so happy because I could get my favorite plane and then my favorite tribe. And despite what people think about, cosmic horror on their Innistrad, it was really cool. Like, Emerge as a mechanic was exactly what like those kind of Eldrazi should be doing.
Yep.
They should just be bursting out of people's chest, and you should be sacrificing stuff. And if they added maybe Morbid back into Eldritch Moon instead of having Escalate, then you could have had more synergy there. But
God, was Escalate from Shadows?
Yes.
God, that's like the mechanic that everybody forgot. I don't even I know what Escalate is and everything, but I would never remember like what set that was from or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of those mechanics from that period of Magic because they're so weird. Like, do you remember what Converge does from Battle for Zendikar? Do you remember what Rally is?
Rally, yes. Rally only because it's an ally thing, and I had a General Tazri deck for a little while. Converge, again, like, it's one of those things that if I sit and as soon as somebody were to like explain it to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that, but not specifically off the top of my head. It's almost like what was it the other day? I was trying to figure out like all the mechanics that came through Ravnica, and
there's a lot.
Yeah, and I found out like the Boros one was Radiance, which was
so bad.
Which was printed in like all of 6 cards, and that's it ever. Even though we've been to Innistrad now 3 times, right? 3?
Yeah, 3 times for Ravnica.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, let's not do this again.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Convoke came back, but Radiance didn't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, God, because they were talking about reprinting some old mechanics and everything like that. They brought back. Oh, what were the other ones they brought back? I think was that it? Because they didn't bring back Evolve.
Yeah,
it was Adapt. Adapt was kind of Evolve-ish though.
I think they reused. Did they reuse a mechanic or two? I don't know. I don't think they brought any back on Ravnica, but I thought they used at least one other guild mechanic.
Well,
Bloodthirst.
Convoke they brought back in the latest one. It was the Selesnya one.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is like they've brought back those mechanics, just not on Ravnica.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean,
so like, Bloodthirst was in M12, I think, because that was the Gruul mechanic.
I thought Bloodthirst was out of. Battle for Zendikar, or not Battle for Zendikar, was out of original Zendikar.
No,
Isn't Anawan have? Yeah, Anawan has Bloodthirst on him, the OG one.
No, that one, Anawan, that one is the Abyss, basically.
Yeah, hold on.
Not vampires. No, who has Bloodthirst? Vampire Nocturnus, I believe.
There it is. It's Bloodlord of Vazgoth.
Okay, we were both
M12,
wrong.
yeah.
Got him.
Well, this is M12, so maybe this is what you were thinking that they used it in another set. I don't know where it originally came from then, but you could be right.
Yeah, I think that was Gruul's original mechanic, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see.
I think, unless I'm going crazy, I might be going crazy.
Viashino Warrior from what set is this? Guildpact.
Yeah, it was the Gruul mechanic.
Yeah. Viashino's Gruul, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Also Scab Clan Mauler.
Mm-hmm.
Skargan Skybreaker, Skargan Firebird, Skargan Pit Skulk.
Yeah, because there's a Battering Worm. Yep, I see a couple green cards mixed in there. Okay. I don't know. I guess that the Bloodlord one got me thinking that it was a... I don't know why I thought Anawan had it. The mono black one, but whatever.
Paul wants me to tell y'all about this mug. It's a mug. It has little kaiju on it. Hold on, can you see it? Yeah.
Yep.
Look, there's a little Ghidorah and a little Godzilla, a little Mothra, and Gillis, and I think, a little tiny baby Mothra. And you don't want to know what's in it. It's water.
We were talking right before we started the stream that I told him that with Benny I had made tea, so I just was gonna make tea every time, and he's like, "Oh, should I have a mug?" And gets up and gets a mug.
It's true. I didn't want to feel left out because otherwise I would just have this.
Well,
so I finished. Like, I should get a mug.
I finished my tea, so now I'm just drinking out of a water bottle. So it is.
No, it was not. All right, Paul. I only have 9 p.m. coffee when it isn't a weeknight because I have work tomorrow.
I was about to say, I would never want a 9 p.m. coffee unless like I had to work overnight or something. That's I would not want to be that guy.
No, sometimes it's rough.
So your love of Innistrad had nothing to do with like in Gothic horror or like anything like that. It was just how you start the game.
No, it's just how I started the game. I really resonated with the cards, and when it was time for me to kind of like dabble, or when it was time for me to start liking Limited, I was like, oh, I really like drafting because now I understand how to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll make a cube, and I've gone through so many iterations of this cube. Like, God, my first draft of it, Blue White Spirits, was nuts. Like it was ridiculous. Like that was the most broken thing in the cube. And then it had too much mana fixing. So then there was an Abzan deck that always had Spider Spawning, Ishkana, and Gavany Township every draft. Because for right now, it's a 360 cube. Mm-hmm. So every single card is going to be drafted. With the new Innistrad sets coming out next year, which I will talk about later, I believe, I'm going to up it to 540 because right now I've stripped all of the mana fixing out of the cube and everything. Like, it is bare bones. This is a 2-color cube. Like, if you want to draft 3 colors, like, you're going to be taking a risk.
Yeah.
Because people would just draft 3-color piles or even 4-color piles. And I'm like, how are you doing this? You shouldn't be able to do this. It's not designed to do that. Yeah. So by moving it up to 540, I had a bit of variance, a bit of controlled variance into the cube, where not all of every piece of mana fixing will be in every cube. Not
Yeah.
every strong card is going to be in every cube or every draft. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that way it breaks up these really strong piles of cards, and it kind of lets things breathe a little bit more.
Mhm.
Because when you open a full 8-person draft with a 360 cube, you know that there's an Olivia, an Emrakul, and a Grizzlebrand and an Avacyn somewhere in these packs.
Yeah.
Like, it is a fact. These are getting opened.
Yep.
And so that does put a lot of pressure on the removal to always be good and be good at every point in time.
Yeah.
So with adding the bit of variance, sometimes Emrakul shows up, or maybe she doesn't, or
Yeah.
maybe Avacyn's here today, but maybe she won't be tomorrow. Who knows?
And it also kind of creates situations where like your power cards might be there, but who knows if the removal will be as
Yeah.
plentiful as if you were to have like a strict full pot every time. Whereas like
Yes.
yes, you have the threats, but you also have the answers to the threats. Here you might have one of some, one of the other. You might have a good mix. You never know. Or who knows? Maybe
Yep.
depending on how much buffer you have, sometimes you might not get either. You could kind of have like more like mid-level cards in there. So
Yeah. And that's part of the other thing too, is like you said, you can have like a bit. I don't want to put bad cards into the cube,
yeah,
but a lot of the cards have to be good because you're playing against super strong cards.
yeah.
Like the deck can handle absurd cards like Deadeye Navigator.
Yeah.
And so playing your dorky little 1/1 with Undying, looks pretty bad. Like there needs to be a good balance of like power and synergy, and opening up more space for that
Yeah.
is going to be helpful.
Yeah.
But I can only open up that space if I get more Simic cards. That's it. Give me like 1 or 2. That's it. That's all I need. And then like I can do anything I want with this thing.
Yeah. I imagine
It's
from a design standpoint, Simic seems to have kind of a rough spot in Innistrad because even
yeah.
like the monsters or something like that seem to come out of like the Demir side, like we saw with like Grimgrin, right? Frankenstein's monster essentially.
Yep.
It's hard to equate like what would you I don't know what they would try to put into Simic except maybe like swamp monsters kind of thing. Which is
Maybe.
like it's a weird thing to say, swamp monsters and Simic, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's weird. So the only 2 Simic cards in any of the Innistrad sets are Lashweed Lurker and Altered Ego.
Okay.
And you what's a clone? Like it's whatever,
Yeah.
it's basically the evil twin of Simic. And Lashweed Lurker you're not going to get back because, Emrakul's in the moon. So it can really be much of anything. We say swamp things, but we already got Gitrog Monster.
Yeah.
Like Golgari kind of has the swamp down, but I mean that doesn't mean that Simic couldn't.
Yeah.
When you look at what is it? Lorwyn Shadowmoor, like Mercfiend Liege.
Yeah.
That's just some kind of toad thing in the swamp. You could do that. It just needs to be scary. You can have a swamp thing. I'm sure you could have some kind of scary Eldrazi octopus thing if you wanted. Doesn't need to have a merge, but everything from Emrakul, I'm assuming, is still around.
Yeah. So my thought process when we finished like Shadows and Eldritch Moon, what I assumed was gonna happen based on the conclusion of the story is that Emrakul's influence is going to wane in terms of how explosive it was. So you're not going to see like a million things bursting with tentacles or anything like that. But I feel like it's going to like her influence is going to seep into the plane more. like just the natural, like the ley lines, I guess would be the way to say it, of the plane, and you are gonna see more like tentacle monsters just kind of evolve, I guess, out of what they currently have. So maybe like a pack of werewolves, for instance, who, because werewolves obviously full moon, uh, starts becoming a little bit like tentacle-ish, and when they infect new people, maybe now that's like a new thing. Maybe they don't call them werewolves from then on. Maybe they're called something else. Same thing even with like the vampires and the humans. Like maybe it'll be a subtle thing more and not quite as explosive. So maybe that's room where the Simic can kind of go into like the Eldritch horrors-ish style things and like splash black in there every once in a while.
Yeah. I don't know. Like,
where's
so
squids?
Part of it. Oh yeah, we're squids. Like, part of the problem is we know from Nahiri that when you're in the Hell Vault, which is basically being in the moon, you can't get out and you can't do anything there. Like, you're basically cut off. You're in kind of like a pocket dimension, kind of like whatchamacallit. God, the meditation realm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The thing is, and this is like the hard part, is that until the writers need to ask this question, we're not going to know.
Yeah.
Because everything we know says, well, Emrakul won't have any influence, period. None. Because she's in her own thing, completely cut off, can't do anything. In the moon, we already discussed that with Nahiri. You know, the Hell Vault's a piece of the moon. This is what it's like doing that. But then they could also just be like, yeah, well, it's Emrakul. She could do whatever she wants. And it's like, all right, that works too. Like, have a blast.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be, at some point, I think they're going to either be asked the question or just in general have to address the fact that, like, the Hell Vault was designed to trap, like, demons, right? And granted, like, you know, angels could be trapped too, as we saw with Avacyn. But it's a jail for demons.
Yeah. Or whatever they want to put in there.
Well, yeah, but Emrakul's not a, you know, she's not even like a different power level than the demon. She's something else. Like, she's from another world, while this moon is obviously from this plane. So I feel like they can loophole it somehow to where, like, yes, they can trap her, because again, like, the current theory, right, is she was trying to get imprisoned, I guess. But maybe that's just so that she can bide her time. Maybe so that she can corrupt the plane. Maybe blah blah blah. Like, I think there's just so much workaround room because she isn't from this world, and the magic of the moon might not work the same way for her. You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like, it can be whatever they want it to be. That's basically it. Like, I don't know. It'd be cool. I'd like to see more cosmic horror stuff. I like that, and I think that there is room on Innistrad to do that. But I also know that it wasn't done necessarily in the best way, and it kind of put a bad taste in people's mouths. And I don't blame them for that, you know. But I don't know. I hope to see more Emrakul stuff, or at the very least, some more sloopy, you know, things, whether they're werewolves or vampires or anything.
Nah, that's okay.
There's room for Cthulhu.
Speaking of, well, yes, there could have been on their own world, but since we're talking about vampires and werewolves and stuff like that, another topic that we wanted to just touch on a little bit, it's not really magic related, but it's seasonally relevant. We're obviously in October now. I don't know about you. October is one of my favorite times of the year. Not just because of, like, Halloween and stuff, which I do like Halloween, and I like the actual, like, legitimate meaning behind Halloween, not the commercialized version of it. But like, I like so much about October. It's the fall, so, like, you're gonna start seeing the changing of the leaves. I always love the colors that come out in fall. I love the weather. I just love, like, the temperature, where it's just cool enough to where, like, hey, maybe I should wear, like, a light jacket when I'm going out, just as the, you know, sun starts going down. But you're never, like, freezing. Again, I grew up in New Jersey, so I know the sweltering summers and I know the freezing winters. I got the best of both worlds. So fall is always like that nice little median. So
yeah, I'm in Connecticut, And that's exactly the same. We have, 100-degree winters, below zero. Wait, hold on. 100-degree summers, below zero winters. And we get autumn, which is a great time. I used to really like winter growing up because I'm like, oh yeah, it's snowy and no school and blah blah blah. But the more the older I get, the more I like fall. Like you said, the leaves are great. Just that having that cool crispness in the air is something I like because you can walk out of the house in the morning in like a hoodie or like a light jacket, like you said, and then midway through the day you're like, yeah, I could just wear a t-shirt, or whatever. Like it's really nice.
And flannel.
And flannel. God, I love my flannel. But yeah, I don't know. I like Halloween. I'm much more of a fan. So my girlfriend's pagan. So like she's very into like the actual Halloween.
Yep.
Whereas I'm like, yes, I respect that. And like actual Halloween is awesome. But allow me to indulge in commercial Halloween because heck, God, I love getting dressed up. I love candy. I love giving candy away to people and just being like, here, have some candy, have a blast, enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Some people really like Christmas, and this could just be the childhood trauma coming out in me, but like Christmas sucked. Like Halloween was awesome. Everyone was in a good mood. Everyone was out trick-or-treating. Everyone would just be giving candy. Like, everyone had such a good time all the time. And like, I don't know, that's something to me that's just like stuck with me growing up, was just Halloween and fall is just like good times, like the actual good times, not the gonna go see my family for Christmas kind of like but like everyone gets
Happy.
to do their thing. Yeah. It's awesome.
I just want to draw a quick attention, and I don't know if Paul did this on purpose or not, but which kind of pagan, and then he spelled witch, Halloween witch.
I'm pretty upset. Paul keeps doing this to me.
I saw it, and at first, like, I completely glossed over it, and then I was like, God damn it, Paul. He always gets me with it.
Every time. Every time. Whether it's Twitter or Twitch, I just can't escape it.
Well, Paul's good people like that. He's got to keep up his brand. That's what it is. He's keeping up his brand. I think another thing too, because you mentioned like as you grew up and everything like that. I think winter loses some of its luster when you're an adult and you have to deal with the ramifications of the weather. Yeah. Like as a kid, like snow days were great and blah blah blah. And don't get me wrong, if they were to, if the weather were to get so bad that the roads are unsafe and they're like, hey, don't come in, that'd be great. But if I want to, or if I need to go do anything, or want to go do anything, like I'm supposed to go grocery shopping tomorrow. So if I needed to do that and it snowed, I got to deal with driving in the snow with icy roads and stuff like that. And I've had the experience again growing up in New Jersey where I've slid on ice. I remember one time. Right before I joined the military, actually, Danny and I had to go pick up a friend of ours from a bar because he got drunk, and his ride bailed on him. And as we were coming back, there was like a road that basically went into like a huge dip where it was a hill on either side, and it was snowing at the time. So we started basically like I would kind of like ride the brakes, and we would just slide down.
That's awful.
And twice we like drifted into the snowbank on the side, and it's like, try to direct it as little, and we weren't going fast, like we didn't have an accident or anything like that. But the car just basically like
it just did its own thing because it couldn't like stop.
All right, I mean, I'm already braking and we're not braking, so let's just try to keep the car going as straight as possible, and if we get to the dip and can't get out, we'll figure it out then. But like stuff like that, you didn't have to deal with as a kid. So like wintertime basically does just mean, snowball fights and snow days in school and stuff like that. Although I'm sure this year we probably won't have as many snow days even in the wintry areas because of like distance learning and stuff like that.
Yep.
Which my poor kids, they'll never know. They'll never know the joys of waking up and hearing that school is closed.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't even think about with all this no snow days. That's rough.
And again, like that's all like part of the growing up part because now I'm the parent, right? So I got to think about stuff like that. So right now my kids they go to a child care center and they do their school through a computer because me and my wife both work. So if the roads are too dangerous for them to go in, but they're not too dangerous for me or my wife to go to work, then what do? You know, I may have to call out of work, or Danny may have to call out of work, or whatever, to like try to figure out because kids can't stay home. My oldest is only 9, so it's just
that's rough. Yeah,
there are parts about winter that I like. I don't mind Christmas as much anymore because it is time, and that's another thing too, right? Like it has become a thing where I don't care about Christmas for myself. I could get nothing and that would be fine. I wouldn't care. But getting stuff for my kids the couple months before, watching them have fun with it and stuff like that, and then getting them to see family members and getting them excited to go and see these people that they don't get to see very often because we don't live in our home state anymore. Like that's all like now the joy of Christmas, I guess, because it as a kid, like the kids they don't care. Like they care about seeing certain people that they're very attached to, but overall like they're there. They want, good food and Christmas presents.
Yep. So, they want good gifts, they want food, and they want to be left alone when they get their gifts.
Yep.
But and you know what? I don't blame them.
But October, again, what we were originally talking about, like that's different. Like they do want to do the thing that involves spending time together. Like it's about getting the costume and going out and parading around in the costume with parents and stuff like that. Especially like last year, my oldest son was Ash Ketchum, so I have I have a Charmander onesie that I got as a joke like a long time ago. I was going to be the cosplayer who's Nadine Nissa Cosplay on Twitter. She was going to be her Watley for an event, and I told her I was like, hey, if you want I can dress up like a dinosaur.
Yeah, and just be Charmander.
Yeah, so I got a Charmander one because I'm like, oh, it's Pokemon, so it's dual-headed in this instance. So for Halloween that year, I was his Charmander, and I walked around with some of their like stuffed animals, like they have a stuffed Pikachu, a Bulbasaur, a Jigglypuff, and a couple others, and I just basically walked with them under my arm and like I'm the party, like I'm his six partners. Amazing. So and he got a kick out of that. That was like a cool thing for him. Like he'll bring up, he's like, "Do you remember that one year where you were my Pokemon and I was Ash Ketchum?" And blah 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 blah. I'm like, "Yeah, trust me, I remember." The thing was not as warm as it felt like in the house.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's a good. Halloween and like October is, to me at least, you can show your support for your children so much more than like at Christmas, like in the time where like the family time, because like you can do stuff like that. You can dress up and do like a partner costume with your kid. You can, or just go out and like get whatever they want for that and do things like that. Just going out and walking around the neighborhood. And not even necessarily Halloween related, but fall related. You go out, you can pick apples, and you can, go get pumpkins or squash or like any of that. There's a lot of like different fall activities you can do too, and like, and it's all fun.
We actually just went to a pumpkin patch yesterday. Did pumpkin picking and corn mazes and other stuff like that. Right? Danny
I forgot about corn mazes.
Yeah, so we wound up splitting up. Danny took our youngest, and they got lost. And my second son, like found the most direct route, and we were done in like 5 minutes.
Wow, so good on them.
We waited for them to come out, Danny and our youngest, and when they didn't come out for a little while, they started kind of getting bored. So like, can we go again and go a different way? I'm like, I guess. And then we wound up eventually meeting somewhere in the maze because Danny was letting our youngest kind of like pick the ways to go. So they took a little bit longer. But that's cute. Like stuff like that is like it was family day out and everything like that, and we don't really do that kind of stuff with Christmas. We'll go and we'll visit family, but we won't do like a family event thing past the holiday thing. Whereas fall, we're doing fall stuff on top of like eventually, yeah, we'll do Halloween too. But it's a season that you're more inclined to do things in than winter, which is associated with not great weather. Even if you're somebody who loves winter and loves snowball fights and building snowmen and blah blah blah, like my kids love doing that stuff, but it is associated with weather that does sometimes make things more difficult to go out and do past like your back or front yard.
Yeah, it's rough because like the most wintry activity that I can think of that you don't need snow for is like going around and looking at Christmas lights.
Yeah,
Like
that's I think the only thing I can think of that we would do, because if we go up to New Jersey for my parents, the kids' grandparents, they like doing that. They like walking around and seeing what people have done for this year, especially because there's like 2 or 3 houses that go all out for their holiday lighting. Yeah, hot chocolate, but that's not really like a go out thing, Paul wrote in the chat, hot chocolate and stuff like that. So those are things that you can...
Hot take. Hot chocolate is better during the fall when you can sit outside and enjoy it than in winter when you need to be inside. Checkmate, Paul.
Wow. Specifically called out, Paul. I think I agree that you can kind of have it like for throughout the seasons, I want to say, because before we went to the pumpkin patch, we went and did like IHOP for breakfast, and my oldest asked for hot chocolate. So it's already like out there and like on menus and stuff like that now. So I would even say that hot chocolate's not a winter thing. It is a fall and winter thing, I guess. I wouldn't think anybody does it during spring, but evergreen.
Probably not.
I wouldn't do hot chocolate in like the summer. I don't know about that now.
It depends. I mean, people do coffee in the summer. No reason why they can't do hot chocolate.
Well, people do coffee all year round so that they can live.
Yeah, talking about it like it's a drug.
Yes, it is. It is literally classified as. I mean, caffeine's a drug, right? Just like alcohol.
Yeah. Hi, Jibin. Hi, hello.
We do alcohol as a drug, but for entirely different reasons or entirely different means to living.
God, I don't know about you, but I don't need alcohol to like be the way that I am.
Oh God, I sometimes need alcohol just to get to like the next day sometimes. Especially this year. This year's been rough.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, I just want to point out that I'm going to refill my mug
with my water.
My that way I'm not just drinking out of a bottle, and I'm staying on theme here.
I see the call out. I see that.
Unlike some people, I'm going to have class and continue my cute kaiju mug.
Unlike this nerd host we have.
Hey, you said it, not me.
No, you implied it though. There, I have water in my mug, which seems so extra. Look at me drinking out of my Christmas mug during the fall of my water.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay. As karmic justice, I spilled water like on the floor and on my chair. That's okay.
Hashtag got him.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing that we do want to talk about is completely unrelated to the season or cube, but we are going to talk a little bit. What was it? 2 weeks ago, maybe? I think Wizard had one of their Magic streams on Twitch where they wanted to talk about the 4 weeks ago. Really?
Yeah, it was the same day that they started previewing Zendikar Rising.
Oh my god! Wow,
it was the same stream.
Jesus. All right. Well, about a month ago, and we're just talking about it now. They started talking about what to expect in the upcoming year, which it kind of makes sense, right? Because this is basically the end of the fiscal year, so they're prepping us for what we can see, and there's a lot of interesting stuff. Some of it is actually relevant to what we've been talking about today. So, real quick, I'm going to flash up. I didn't finish that sentence, so it was awkward. But I'm going to flash up the flashing up this image. This is released by Wizards of the Coast. This is the 2021 release schedule. They obviously have it cut down in quarters. Now, I will say this: I don't know if these quarters are according to the fiscal year, or if they're according to like the calendar year. I'm sure somebody knows that, and I'm sure somebody's smarter than me. But
I'm thinking that it's the calendar year because they said Kaldheim's coming out, I believe, late January. Strixhaven's in like April, and so like that's just over the cusp. I
Yeah,
believe.
that does match up then to if we were to cut up the calendar year into quarters. You're right.
Yeah, I think so. But also, don't quote me on that.
So if we're wrong, it is all Angelo's fault. But
it's true. It wouldn't be the first time that I got blamed for something like that, so I'll take it.
So as you guys can see here, Kaldheim is first in the first quarter. Then between the first and second quarter, we have Time Spiral Remastered. In the second quarter is going to be Strixhaven, School of Mages. In the third quarter is going to be a D&D crossover set with Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. In between that and quarter 4 is going to be Modern Horizons 2. That's going to get its second edition. And then quarter 4, toward the end of the year, toward the fall and winter time frame, we're going to see Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad Vampires, which is very, very interesting for, Angelo, who's head of a Innistrad cube, and then for me, where I just like Gothic horror because it's better than whatever Cthulhu is. But yeah, so
debatable.
Listen here, you. This is my show. Don't charge with me. But yeah, just looking at this though, like this is to me a stacked year. I can't think of too many. So Time Spiral to me is kind of like meh. I don't mind Time Spiral, but I'm also not like against it or anything. Like it's not like they could have done something better. It's fine, especially because it's not going to be. It's like Modern Horizons where it's going to be a limited set like Modern Horizons 1 was, right? So it's going to be its own little thing. It's not affecting standard, I'm sure, blah blah blah. It is what it is. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that there are a lot of Time Spiral diehards out there. I'm not one of them. I think Time Spiral is fine. I think it's okay. Maybe I'll draft it once or twice, but it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm happy they're getting it.
Yeah, I'm happy that there's that like stuff out there for people who enjoy it. I will kind of like reserve my final thoughts on it until the preview season has concluded, essentially, so I can kind of see what's in there. Because there's been stuff that's like, oh, this set's not really for me, and then as I go through actually having the set or like seeing the set, I'll be like, oh, never mind, this is really cool. I really like this.
Yeah.
So I mean, Modern Horizons was kind of like that because it was public or it was promoted as a set for Modern, and I don't play Modern, so it had nothing to do with me. And then people talked about, oh, Modern Horizons basically like Commander Horizons and stuff like that because of the cool Commander cards or Commander capable cards that were in there. So I love Modern Horizons. So there you go.
As a bit of a Modern player, Modern Horizons was a mess.
Trust me, once it was released and hit Modern, I remember seeing the people going kind of like, man, look at this, it's so broken, blah blah blah. I mean, what was it? Hagok was insane for the first 3 weeks it came out or something like that, and then they finally started banning stuff out of it.
Hogak, and then quickly followed by Urza, but with a lot of help from Astrolabe.
Yeah, and they had to go through series of bannings. I remember, the overreacted things about oh, Modern is dying and horrible now, or it'll never be good again. And now that Standard's in the bin right now, everybody's saying, oh, Modern feels so healthy and so good. So it's almost as if
it's all about what you compare it to. And to be fair, Standard's been kind of a dumpster fire. So by comparison, Modern's okay.
There's an ebb and flow to all things, right? Standard's been in a crappy spot before, not recently. It's probably the longest that it's been in a rough spot, but in the past there have been rough spots in Standard, as people will tell you. What was it Mirrodin Block? People were like, oh, this is horrible and stuff like that. And there's been a couple other sets here and there where people are like, oh, this is not good Standard, this isn't fun, this is the worst Standard rotation ever, blah blah blah. So I'm sure there will be an ebb and a flow. Hopefully, eventually, we get back to a better Standard for people who like Standard. I'm a Commander player almost through and through, so. But obviously, I want the game to do well, and Standard is a big part of that. But with that being said, so the standard sets, right? Kaldheim, Strixhaven, the D&D one, I'm gonna be kind of interested in how they tie that in the standard, because it's gonna
Yeah.
be a crossover, but it's gonna be standard legal. So like, sure, D&D theme and everything can work in a magic world, but like, is the Forgotten Realms now canon a plane in the magic universe? That's like my big question.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's going to be its own plane or if it's going to be like an offshoot thing where um I don't know, and not to bring up the Walking Dead secret lair because I know that's kind of a sore subject
Yeah.
for some people, not for me, but for some people. Um if it's just kind of adapting a story or adapting characters to cards as opposed to fleshing out like an actual plane,
Yeah.
um maybe we won't see any planeswalkers in the set because maybe in the Forgotten Realms, because it's not going, or if it's not a plane, there's no such thing as planeswalkers. You might have
Yeah.
legendary creatures, but it might be one of the sets that you don't have walkers. Or if they can't do that for a set and they're like, no, we need walkers, maybe it's a plane. Who knows? Maybe we'll go back to it.
Yeah. Paul does say in the chat, so Ravnica and Theros are D&D canon. I think that's slightly different. Going that direction, right? You're applying D&D, which is a gaming system, to a world. Whereas applying a realm that has existed in the D&D system to Magic, I think it's different. I don't think it's necessarily a two-way street that way. I don't
Hmm.
know if
But
you
he
agree or
does
disagree
say
with that.
that he says that one of them, or that the Forgotten Realms is a walker. I don't know. Also, real quick, because we're kind of jumping around on stuff, and I think that this is an important distinction
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't really seen anyone talk about. Strixhaven is not a plane. That's the name of a school.
That's a good point.
Um, and so we don't know what plane Strixhaven is on.
That's true.
Um, and so like Strixhaven could be on Vryn,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, maybe we want more Jace story. It could be anywhere. It could be on a plane we don't know about. But I saw, at least on Twitter, I saw a lot of people referring to Strixhaven as like the plane when it isn't. It's specifically
Yeah.
the school. And I understand why that's confusing because more often than not, planes are or sets are named after planes, like Kaldheim.
Yeah.
But that's something that I haven't seen people talk about, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Actually, that does kind of open up the question of when we go to Strixhaven, obviously we're going to be kind of focusing on, well, actually, so in a similar point, a Monket, right, was the name of the plane, but there was a lot
Yep.
of the world that we never saw because it was wasteland because of what Bolus did however many years ago, like 60 or something years ago, or
Yeah.
whatever. Um,
Pre-mending.
yeah, and then Eldraine even talked about how there were lands farther out than where the story took place. Like
Are,
at
are
least
you
reading
saying
like
Eldraine or Ixalan?
no Eldraine.
Okay, because I know Ixalan. Ixalan was the island.
Yes, that's another good one too. That ties into
Yeah.
this as well. So Ixalan was, you're right, one island, and then like where the vampires came from was like another continent,
Yep.
right? Like a whole like nation of vampires and whoever they took over from. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But no, I'm talking in Eldraine in like the actual in the novel. The conversations that they had, it sounded like there was more to the world of Eldraine than what we were talking about in that it made it feel like Eldraine was taking place in one region where it was split up
Mhm.
into the 5 different
Courts.
courts and then like the wilds around it, and then what was beyond that. It seemed like there was more out there in the world, and we only saw
Hmm.
a small spot of it. So was Eldraine the name of the plane or the region? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking the plane because it was never clarified, but I mean, that's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah, and then
Um,
it's the same
hmm,
thing with Ixalan because I thought
yeah,
they addressed that. I can't remember what they said. I want to say Mark Rosewater said something about it, but I can't remember what he
I
said.
I think Ixalan is the name of both.
Okay.
I think that's what was decided, but let me see.
I'm also not gonna lie while you're looking that up. So I put more water into a cup that I had just been drinking tea out of, and now I've got like very watered down tea flavored water, and it's not great. Not
Oh,
great.
that's
And
awful.
I thank you for this. You know, this is a little. Every time I like take a sip, I'm trying not to like make a face
Yeah,
because of the camera.
I
But I think I'm just gonna do it, and it's people are gonna have to realize that that's all your fault too.
that's okay. It's a Kaya is about the big picture chaos. I'm about the very controlled chaos. Very watered down tea that makes you go, "Meh." Yeah, that's my style of chaos. It's the very just like
it's
annoying, minuscule stuff.
it's the little victories that you're after.
Correct. Um, let's see. Yeah, Ixalan. Ixalan, the western continent, bears the same name as the plane, parentheses, or the other way around, close parentheses.
Yeah, I could see
Um,
it being, especially because like it's an island, right? And they hinted that the vampires came from somewhere else that was bigger. I
yeah,
could see it being like,
they're from Torazon, I
yep,
believe.
that sounds right. So, but
Yep,
it would make sense
Torazon.
that like, hey, here's this undiscovered place. We just call it Ixalan because we ain't got nothing better to call it.
Yeah,
I wonder if like the natives, so the Sun tribe or whatever they were.
the Sun Empire.
Yeah, I wonder if they considered it called it Ixalan, or if it was just their home and they didn't, or maybe they called it Ixalan because the world was Ixalan. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it never had like the island itself maybe never had its own name because the people who were on it just called it part of the world, not really maybe realizing that there was places past the ocean or whatever, and then the invaders were just like, whatever. We're not necessarily trying to settle it. We're trying to steal the treasure from it. So what do we care? What do we call it?
Yeah, we're not going to fight about it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we'll fight about the treasure, not the name.
yeah, you can call it whatever the hell you want. We just
Yeah,
give us your stuff though.
yeah. Um, and then looking at Kaldheim, I don't really know what to expect. I mean, like, if there's snow permanent, cool. I don't really care about snow. Um, my roommate, he really likes like Norse and like mythology
Yeah,
and all that, so like he's super stoked. I'm wondering if we're gonna get gods, and if we are, like what they're gonna do.
yeah.
Um, I wonder what the theme is gonna be because we only know what do we know? Actually, we have
Not really
Kaldheim
much.
from a planar card,
Yeah,
and we see that it's snowy. I think it's Skybreen. That's the name of the card. And then Angrath and Huatli very briefly glimpsed it in Ixalan block in one of the stories. And it was like, yeah, this is a snowy plane, and that's
yeah.
all we know about it.
I wouldn't put it past them to have gods. They seem to enjoy printing gods as a like design.
Yeah.
Especially like now they have so many different designs of it. They have the devotion style gods, which are the Greek gods. They
Yep.
have the Amonkhet gods, which just kind of work through reincarnation. Um,
No, those ones are indestructible.
oh yeah, the original ones were just indestructible. It was
Oh, sorry, you're saying the
the God
insect
Eternal
boys.
ones. Yeah, well, the God Eternal ones too, right?
Oh, the guy. Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah, so
Um,
like they have a couple different ways of doing. Well, so it's weird, right? Because the God Eternal ones, the four God Eternal ones, they did the same thing where they go and they come back to the third spot. But then Ilharg, which is a Ravnica god, also does the same
yeah.
thing. So he's not from the same place, but they do the same thing. It's
I
kind of
think that
weird.
was just a design choice.
Yeah, I'm sure it was more from like a game design, like hey, it's a cycle, so they should be similar.
Yeah.
But from a lore perspective, they suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I will. I would like to see something like that, where we have like Norse gods and stuff like that. I don't know how I would change the design. I would hope that they do a different design.
I don't know. I think What do I think? So I don't know a whole bunch about Norse mythology. I know the tropey stuff, you
Yeah.
know. Um, the gods to me, like that kind of design would echo like original Amonkhet design, where it's just like, hey, we're here, we're indestructible, meet this requirement, and we could do whatever. Like, with Hazret needing one or less cards in hand, or Ronus needing a creature with power 4 or greater. Like, I don't know. Because I don't think obviously they'd bring back Devotion because they just had that.
Yeah.
I think that the recursion effect for either the insect gods or for the god eternals are incredibly strong because I don't know if anyone remembers, but Scarab God dominated standard at the time, and the god eternals wrecked War Limited. The recursion is incredibly strong and also not terribly flavorful
Yeah.
for gods that aren't dead.
That was going to be a big thing that I was going to touch on, was that I would imagine for Norse mythology, where they even have an end of days style thing with Ragnarok, that
mm,
reincarnation probably wouldn't work very well. They would
yeah.
probably just have to be indestructible, because there was really no, I'm not like an expert on mythology,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure that none of the gods have like died and come back. They're all pretty much indestructible until we
They
get
die.
Ragnarok, and then when they die, like that's gonna be it. Like the
Yeah.
gods who are prophesized to die are just dead. They're not
Yep.
coming back. And like they're like, some are gonna survive, I think, and they're gonna remake the world and all that other stuff, but I don't think they're supposed to come back at all. So
No.
I would imagine the God Eternal style recursion thing is probably not going to be it. I could see it more like the original Among Cat ones, like you were saying, where they are indestructible and you have to do something to appease them, because Norse mythology, like Vikings in general, were always about sacrificing to the gods, right? Like I'm pretty sure they did like pyres, sacrificial stuff,
Yeah.
right? So it's going to be about doing the thing that the god will then give them their blessing, or empower
Mhm.
them or whatever. So I could see it being something like that. Something,
Yeah.
and maybe even like static effects, kind of like how a lot of the original Theros gods had. Not the devotion thing, but I mean like they're like, all your creatures have haste or whatever.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I could see them doing that, where the blessing is maybe only active once you've appeased the god or something. I don't know.
hmm Yeah. I don't know. I think it'd also be cool to have like, I don't know, have them be like good creatures, and then maybe them turn on their indestructibleness when something is met, kind of like a reverse god. So
Yeah.
like, they're an efficient creature, or they're good, but then if you meet their requirement, then they become very godly. They become indestructible or something.
Kind of less strictly to like a pay mana to do this thing, but kind of like the level up mechanic from a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I would actually,
Yeah.
that's, I'll tell you this, that would be something I would love for the D&D crossovers, to bring back like level up counters, maybe do it a different way and
Oh,
format it differently. But that's
that's
something
a
I
good
would
one.
love.
Yep.
That would be very on flavor for D&D style gameplay, where like you have more legendary creatures because each person's a character or something like that, and
I
they
like that.
like legendary creatures that level up. I think that would be pretty cool. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm not.
Something oh,
Go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
what?
No, no, no. Go. You're the guest.
Yeah. If speaking of Bloodthirst, if Bloodthirst isn't in Kaldheim, I'm gonna be very upset.
I would
Like,
imagine, yeah, like there's gonna be a few mechanics like Rampage, I'm sure.
yeah, either. I like Bloodthirst a bit more than Rampage. I think
Yeah.
from a design perspective, you can do a lot more with it. And it can also bake in a 1/1 counters theme if they wanted to in the set.
Yep.
But I don't know. I want like big angry Vikings, like just do it. Give me Bloodthirsty Vikings, or give me Rampaging, like something. Like if I'm going to Kaldheim and we think it's a Viking plane, or we feel like it's a Viking plane, like give me Vikings then.
Yeah.
Like make them bloodthirsty meatheads.
There better be either a reprint of one of the two cards that has it, or a new card that has the words "Cowards can't block warriors." That's all I'm saying, because cowards can't block warriors. And I'm sure
Cowards can't block warriors.
Warriors gonna have to like matter in the set. Whether it's gonna be like legit tribal, where we have like lords or a mechanic that cares about warriors or something, they're gonna have to have warriors in the set. I can't imagine that we don't see some legendary warriors that care about combat or whatever. Like, I can't imagine that not happening.
Because I mean, when you think about it, because what did we have? That like previous sets. So if we had a lot of warriors in Kaldheim, we'll probably have a bunch of wizards in Strixhaven. Maybe we'll get more fleshed out rogues and clerics from the D&D set. They're really, I don't know. I feel like they're setting up Party to also be in the D&D set.
Yeah.
But I also don't know if it's like too soon, where it's just like, yeah, here's Party again. I mean, they're doing modal DFCs for Kaldheim, so maybe they're just like, yeah, you know what? We found good mechanics. Let's just bust them out. Let's just do it.
Yeah. I honestly, when Zendikar started getting its previews and we started seeing this party mechanic before, like, we even realized that it was like these 4 different tribes, blah, 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 I was really surprised to see it in Zendikar when they had also just announced there was going to be a D&D style theme. I was like, yeah, you have it in third quarter. Like, that's way too spaced out. But it's like an obvious, like, thematic win would be to have the D&D set have party members. So there's going to have to be some kind of tie-in too. I would say that there
has to be, like, or I don't know if they, there's no way that I know that their not their R&D, I apologize. Their balancing has been a bit off recently.
Yeah. But
their overall their R&D work and their design to me has been spot on. They've had a lot of really good designs, for whatever awful of a mess Uro was, a very well designed card in my opinion. Like, the issue with Uro is that the numbers were off, a big scary Simic Titan. Sure, it does all those things and it escapes. Like, that's what a Titan does. Like, same thing with Kroxa. Kroxa needed its numbers tweaked, maybe to be a bit better, or maybe Uro needed to be a bit worse.
I would say more the downgrading side, not the upgrading. Could you imagine 2 Titans out in the world?
Yeah, right. But like, Escape as a mechanic, super cool, really flavorful, did its thing. Mutate, very complicated, but it got its point across. You were able to do super cool and fun things with it. Even for all of the awful stuff that War of the Spark did for Eternal formats, like, the designs of the walkers were interesting. I didn't like every design, but I liked the depth that adding static effects to walkers did.
Yeah, the diversity, the difference in the gameplay.
Yeah, correct. And, again, balancing has been the issue here, in my opinion. But, it gives me hope that, even Zendikar Rising, we had Omnath problems.
Yep.
Well, despite how powerful Omnath was, Omnath is still a really cool 4th iteration of a creature. Like, I like that Omnath, even if it is destroying multiple formats. Like, it's cool. I like it. The designs are sweet. And it makes me look forward to how they're going to design gods if they make gods, or how they're going to flesh out Party if they do Party again. I'm hoping that they do. But I don't know. My call to shot is Spell Mastery for Strixhaven and Bloodthirst for Kaldheim. So quote me on that.
Yeah, and Party for D&D, I'm sure.
Party for D&D.
Something like Party, I imagine. Oh, you know what else they could bring back in Party? In D&D?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it would work out in like standard experience counters.
Ooh.
D&D has, experience and stuff like that. Or who knows, maybe they even prove a point that I've had for a long time as a DM in that what do you call it? Milestone leveling is better than experience points.
Yeah, I don't know. As someone who deals with experience counters in Commander, I'm not sure I kind of want that in Standard or
What?
Eternal formats. It's super hard to interact with. Fight me.
What are you even talking about? Some of the best cards ever.
God, this man doesn't want spaghetti in his Innistrad, but he's okay with experience counters in Commander. I don't know what he's doing.
But
get her off the screen, Seth. For people who don't know, I hate Marin. I hate Marin almost as much as no, hold on. I don't know who I dislike more. It's either Golos or Marin, but Marin, I've hated Marin for a long time.
She's been around longer. That makes sense.
Oh, hold on. I have a story about Marin.
Oh gosh.
It's gonna take 2 minutes, I promise. I know we're running a bit long.
No, just oh gosh, on the you have a story about Marin. It had
nothing to do with time. So, my friend, he liked making good decks. Still likes making good decks. Mm-hmm. And he made a Marin deck, and everyone knows how a good Marin deck functions with, Butcher of Malakir and Grave Pact and Dictate and bringing stuff out of your graveyard and putting it back in and doing all the Marin things. And the playgroup kept getting trounced by Marin constantly. and this is where my hatred for Marin came from. It's part Marin because it'd be like, here, I'm gonna bring back Fleshbag Marauder, sack my guy, everyone sack creatures. Oh wait, hold on, Grave Pact trigger, get rid, and like the deck would never win. And I'm like, why am I sitting here for a 3-hour game? Like, this is obnoxious. And at the time, no one would pack graveyard removal except for me. Okay. And so, like, I'd be like, here, zap your graveyard. And, sometimes they'd be kind of a poor sport and be like, why you attack my graveyard? That's so cheap, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd fill it up 2 turns later and be fine. But this was around the time that I'm sorry. Hour of Devastation came out.
Okay.
And I went to my LGS, and Scavenger Grounds was $1. And I bought 14 copies of Scavenger Grounds.
Oh my gosh, that's so many.
And I handed them out to my playgroup. I gave everyone 2 each and said, here, put them in your decks, because we can't beat this deck otherwise, and no one is willing to run Graveyard Hate. And so everyone slotted in their Scavenger Grounds, and we never had a problem with Marin ever again. Except I hate her for making me do that. Like, I had to equip my entire meta just to fight her.
But that makes me really angry. That was a teachable moment, though. They learned... Yes. They learned today that they need to be able to deal with the graveyard.
Yes, sure, but Marin made me do it.
Yeah, I see this as an absolute win.
I see this as an absolute win.
I see this as an absolute win. You taught everybody an important lesson. Your LGS made $14. I mean, come on, like where's the downside?
Everyone wins, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah. There you go. All right, so for 2021 though, before we wrap things up, what's your most excited for, and what do you think is going to do the best of the 6 sets if you want to do the 2 off ones?
All right. So what I'm most excited about in 2021 is at least one Simic card on Innistrad. That's all I need. And like it's really lame, and like it sounds like I'm doing a bit. I'm not. I need at least one. Please give me at least one. But I'm excited for Innistrad. I'm excited for Kaldheim, for my roommate. Strixhaven I'm a little lukewarm on, but Innistrad's my jam. I'm ready to go back a 3rd time. It's in a year, basically to the day almost. It's going to be October next year. You know, it sucks to wait, but I am down. I think the D&D set will do well, you know, especially if there's like a Dritz card in it, you know, or like any other like well-known
You're
Forgotten Realms characters.
hey, you're leaking the secret layer drop. Stop it.
What? Oh, stop. Shh, we don't talk about it.
We all know it's gonna happen, but we just keep ignoring it until it does. Then we can tend to be angry about it.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm worried actually that Kaldheim and maybe Strixhaven are going to be like Theros and Zendikar power level, but then the power level is going to drop off because I feel like they might overcorrect, and if they overcorrect too much, then maybe the D&D set or the Innistrad sets will end up suffering. Yeah, so that's a worry in the back of my head, especially because of Uro, and now I'm like, wow, any blue-green card in the Innistrad sets are going to suck now. But but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say Innistrad. Okay. Put me down. Innistrad's going to be great. Innistrad's going to sell great. It's going to be awesome. I'm down for either of those, so that's what I'm going with.
So I think one thing I want to see out of it, I'm obviously mostly excited for the Innistrad one. I think actually Kaldheim will do the best because people have been after it for a while. Even though I think D&D has the potential to serve two masters in the sense of two different audiences. I think Kaldheim is just one of those things that we've asked about so hard for so long that it coming out alone will just pilot sales way up. But for Innistrad, something I'm looking forward to that we haven't, like we as the community, at least as far as I've seen, haven't talked about, is oddly colored vampires and werewolves. And what I mean by that is not just Gruul werewolves, and not just Rakdos with maybe like the occasional splashing of blue that we've seen in vampires from Innistrad. I'm looking forward to like Orzhov vampires. I'm looking forward to maybe Rakdos werewolves or something like that, or even even Boros
Golgari werewolves.
I would Golgari werewolves. I could see something like that, especially because like they have necromancers and stuff. So God forbid like a necromancer starts like raising werewolves. I don't know how that would work in the Innistrad world, because it, for as much as I love the Gothic horror, it's also got weird rules where like the vampires aren't actually the undead. That's how we have Soren.
Yeah,
but that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is to see stuff that will kind of like, I don't want to say break the color pie, because mechanically it can be fine within its colors, but break what we are expecting in terms of colors for these tribes. That's what I'm hoping for.
break the traditional color pairings, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. If the all the what do you call them? The silver furs. If all of those weren't killed off, because I think there's only like one or two left, then I could be like, oh, well, there could be maybe like a Naya tribe of werewolves where, you know, you have some white ones instead of, you know, just going black for Jund. But I don't know. Part of the issue is that like with the werewolves, you know, you're in Gruul, and then with the vampires, you're in Rakdos, and that puts you solidly in Jund. And where do those tribes branch out to? I think, you know, without without the silver furs, the werewolves go to black, and I think maybe the vampires go to white, like you said, you know, because you look at Edgar.
Yeah.
You know, they could go to blue, like with Jaleva, or however you want to call her. But I think white is there, and then what does blue get? You know, I don't know. It's interesting, and I don't know how they're going to balance it, but I'm down. They mentioned a vampire wedding. I'm down for vampire weddings.
I didn't hear that one, so that one's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, just you saying though, like Jund werewolves and like Naya werewolves, how cool would it be if like the werewolf set, right? Because they're like two sets that are being released together or whatever. How cool
Yeah.
would it be if, or even the vampire one was like, well, so the vampire one's going to be a wedding, so I imagine this will be less likely. But if the werewolf one was like a pack war going on between the werewolves for like supremacy, right? Like a
Yep.
couple of werewolf like pack leaders start trying to basically be like, hey, if I can unite all the different packs, you know, we can, because we're obviously hurting now between not only Absinthe came out and then Emrakul and stuff, and then I'm sure a lot of the cleanup will be just killing monsters indiscriminately, whether they're Emrakul monsters or not. So the humans, I'm sure, will, you know, try to be on a rampage. So
I
what if
wonder. Hold on. You're saying this, and you're making a lot of good points.
I do that
There,
sometimes?
there's only like after the Markovs got destroyed, basically. There's only like two, maybe three other families, I believe, of vampires.
There's the Stromkirks are still pretty
Yep.
like strong, and the Volderins I think are still
Yeah.
strong,
Yes.
and the Falcon Wraths I think are probably the weaker of the three.
Yes. Because those ones basically gave themselves to Emrakul, I believe,
Yeah,
and part of the Stromkirks, I think.
yeah, but the
Um.
Markovs are basically practically extinct if they're not, and I can't
Yeah.
remember what the fifth house was. I can never remember it. There is one, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. They're like off into the woods and don't really talk to anyone. Um. Yeah. I don't know, but like, let's
Buffy Secret
say
Lair.
like because I think it goes werewolves and then vampires
Mm-hmm.
for the order of the sets. The werewolf set, like you said, could be them trying to unite because they know that there's going to be a wedding. And if two of the vampire houses merge
Ah,
together, then the werewolves also need to kind of come together to
yeah,
probably fight that basically as an arms race.
yeah.
Um, so I think that that actually has a bit of merit, and that would also make sense why those two tribes in particular are being featured because humans are already banding together as much as they can, and then
Yeah.
spirits and zombies don't really care.
I think, well, for the most part, zombies are like a byproduct, right? Like they're not necessarily. Oh, I guess Macias is Innistrad, right?
Well, I'm sorry, what?
Macias, he's Innistrad, right?
Yeah, why?
So they do have some like sentient zombies. I
Mm,
was thinking for the most part.
no, no, Macias isn't sentient though.
Oh, I thought when he was raised, he was basically sentient.
No, if I'm not mistaken, like information could be extracted from him, but he wasn't sentient.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
so for the most part, though, I'm thinking zombies are not really like a tribe in the same. Well, they are a tribe, obviously, in the game design wise, but in the story, the lore of Innistrad, I don't think they are like a family tribe type thing. Like they're not
yeah,
their
definitely not.
own society. They're a byproduct
No.
of
Yeah, correct. Well,
necromancers and stuff like
and
that.
and that's what I mean is that like they don't think, so they're not gonna care
Yeah,
about anything going on. Same thing with spirits. Like the spirits might be able to have a bit more sentience, but what are they gonna do? you
yeah.
know?
Well, plus also, aren't they kind of I don't want to say like warped, but aren't they kind of like being dead? Didn't that kind of like mess them up mentally? You know what I mean?
Um, it depends. So Innistrad spirits come in a couple of flavors. You
Yeah, that's true.
have the green ones that are basically scary tree spirits. You have the red
Yeah,
ones who are angry that they're dead. Um, the blue and the black ones are usually the most malicious. Um, and then the white ones are the familial ones
yeah,
that often protect, though I'll, through Eldritch Moon, a lot of the blue ones also stop being super malicious. But in OG Innistrad, a lot of blue ones were like
yeah,
drove you mad and were just like,
yeah,
"Hey, we're
yeah.
going to make your life miserable."
They were like the more like haunting style, like the creepier ones.
Yeah.
Where weren't the black ones more like poltergeists, where like they
Yes.
were trying
Correct.
to like actually
To
hurt you?
Yeah, like, so the blue ones would like do their thing and be creepy, and like they'd be the ones that's like, oh yeah, we're watching you, you know, that feeling that you get when someone's watching you, that's us, you know. And then the black ones would be like, yeah, I'm inhabiting this doll and I'm gonna murder you.
Yeah. All right. Well, it'll be interesting when it comes out. There's definitely a lot of different ways that they can go, so it'll be.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it. That is
I'm
the one I think I'm
incredibly
most excited for. But
yeah,
so this has been fun. Thank you
yeah,
so
it's been
much
awesome.
for coming on to our second episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, of course. For everybody who's out there in the stream and eventually going to see this on YouTube, Angelo is an EDHREC writer. You can catch his series over there on EDHREC.com. I will put a link to his basically like his author page, I guess, on EDHREC, and also link to like his Twitter down in the video description below.
Thanks.
Is there anything else that we can find you on?
No, just Twitter at the Jeskai. I'm bad at replying to DMs, but I'm good if you tag me. So, but yeah, get me on there. My articles come out on Tuesdays, either every other Tuesday or every Tuesday, depending on, you know, the
Where
time
the
of
world
year.
is, yeah.
Yeah, like October, I'm doing weekly again, but then after
Okay.
that, I'm like, no, I have to do every other. Like, I'll do spooky articles, but after that,
Oh well, you know it's on brand now that we know you're the Innistrad guy. So
yeah, that's fine as long as I'm not the Sultai guy.
no, that's me. You can't take my credit.
Yeah.
Definitely make sure you guys join us every Monday, 8:30 p.m. on twitch.tv/Praetor_gaming. We'll be doing more of these with different guests. Angelo might come back in the future for another one. We'll talk about some different stuff. Who knows? We also have some other stuff going on tomorrow at 8:30. I'm going to be streaming something that I started calling the Alchemist Refuge. That's where I start brewing decks so that I have more options to play Magic Online. Last week I did Teshar Ancestors Apostle. It was a lot of fun. I've played the deck before and I've always loved the way it works. This time I am doing Sethron, or I can't say it right, Herloon General. Because I love Minotaurs. Yes. I love the Minotaurs since like the original Innistrad. I had a standard deck of them for a little while, and it was always just fun trampling over people's faces. So I'm gonna see if I can't do it again with some extra attack steps. Wednesdays and Sundays, Phyrexian is doing his Pokemon Fire Red version. Is Nuzlocke challenge. He's still going strong with that. And then on Thursdays, it is officially season 10 of 3DH. So this Thursday is going to be the first one. We're going to be doing Zendikar Rising legendary creatures. I will be on that one with Phyrexian and a couple other people. So make sure you check us out at 8:30. Oh, Wednesdays and Sundays that starts at 8, not 8:30. So, and then of course check us out YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Discord. All the links will be down below because they're all a little bit different because the internet hates me. But yeah, if you miss anything, chances are it'll show up on the YouTube later on at some point. So check us out there. So any last words there, Angelo?
No, just wear your mask, be smart, go vote, do it. Like, please.
For the love of God.
Be smart and be safe. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Definitely do all those things. Take care of each other. Take care of your loved ones and everything like that. And I'll see you guys next Monday. So peace.
Bye.